About a year ago, I made a video on an X-Men 6 player, and YouTube user Ben Tackett commented,
"Be great to actually be shown the cabinet."
6 dislikes! I can't let my viewers down. So in this video, I'll show some of the finer details of this cabinet and talk about some of the finishing touches when assembling it. This can be purchased fully assembled like this one, or in its bare wood form for the do-it-yourselfer. And the good news about this one is the whole back end comes apart. It being such a huge cabinet, sometimes it wouldn't fit through a door without taking it apart. And this thing is friggin' huge. Like all the games I put together, it has a one-button on-off switch, and you can make it boot directly into a game. I have a separate video showing how to do that. So it takes about 45 seconds for the thing to boot all the way up. And you'll notice this one has color-changing LEDs. These are cool because you can make the controls used in a game light up, while the other ones don't. I'm using RGB Commander, which is the software that controls the Raspberry Pi to do this. And I get into those details in a different video. It boots directly into the US version of the X-Men 6 player, and I'm using MAME 2003+. It was hard to find a ROM that works with this. Oh, and I should say, if you buy the game fully assembled, I can't include ROMs because I don't have the rights to distribute them. So it'll be up to you to put them on yourself. But I did do most of the programming for the RGB Commander to control the LEDs, and I included that example text file in the video description. If you're in between games, it displays this light show, and it looks like some kind of European dance party. Unfortunately, when it boots directly into the X-Men, I can't seem to get it to go to that button configuration. I tried fooling with the default settings, and the best I can do is you have to get out of the game and then get back in to have the buttons change to the correct colors. Here I am paging through a couple of games. I have the X-Men 6 player, and you can see all the buttons are lighted up. And then for Ninja Turtles, only the 4 in the middle are lit up, and not all 3 buttons because it only is a 2-button game. This is NBA Jam, 3 buttons, 4 controllers, and Donkey Kong with a player 1 and 2 button, and then just a joystick and 1 button. Before I move on to more details about the cabinet, I want to talk about the interface a little bit and page through the games that I think go well with this machine. So I'm running Retropie, and this is the interface. It normally has sound, but I forgot to record it. Now the machine again doesn't come with any games. It's going to be up to the customer to add them. It's not difficult to do, and I detail that in one of my other YouTube videos. There are systems out there that come with thousands of games. There's some kind of adapter board that will play a whole bunch of arcade titles. But in reality, you don't want to have 1,000 games on there. Most of them aren't even playable on the machine. For example, you're not going to be playing any driving games or shooting games on this machine. But it is a very good setup for the classic beat-em-ups or some of the original arcade titles that don't require a whole bunch of buttons. So it's worth putting in the time and picking out the games that you want to add. Now again, this game will boot into X-Men 6 player US version, and then you use the controller by pressing start and select to back out of the game, and then A and B to select a menu or select a game. A lot of people ask me if this cabinet existed in the 90s, and I made this one off the measurements of the original. The main difference is the one in the 90s used 2 CRT monitors with a mirror, and it had a big hump in the back. And in this one I put a 50-inch 4K TV in it instead. It's got a sheet of clear tempered glass for the front. Sometimes they used a smoked or tinted glass, but this one being so fresh I went for the clear. The sheet of glass I think costs about $125, and so when I go to ship it, I'm going to put it inside the machine with some cardboard and bubble wrap. I made this rubber seal out of a piece of floor cove is what it's called. It's for like an industrial building. And here's that stuff I was talking about. It's made to go between your floor and the wall for like an industrial building, and it's made out of rubber. And so I had just sliced it and then nailed it to the side of the board so that this thing trims out nice and flush against the glass. The control panel deck can open up. I think on the original you had to unhook it and then swing it out before you could open it up. And on this one, since it's home use only, it can just open up without defeating any latches. It's built to a really tight tolerance, so when you close it, you'll have to give it a little bit of a shake and then it will settle into place. You can leave the controller and volume control hanging out of it with that rubber seal being there. That way you don't really have to open up the cabinet. I get asked the question a lot, will this fit through my door? And with it put together, probably not. This here is about 4 foot 8 inches. So the front and back separate. And you don't want to pull it out too far or the wires will come out. You'll have to disconnect. You come in here and you disconnect the Raspberry Pi to get it out. Now the cabinet can separate. And there's one plug back there for the LED controls. Now with this removed, it's just about 30 inches, a little bit above 29 inches. And here's what it looks like from the inside. Lots of space.
You know what I'd do if I bought it? I'd put my weed in there.
Lots of wiring.
Right in there.
There's the LED blinky. And here's the inside of the cabinet. This is the bottom side, a piece of wood to trim it out. And I got a piece of metal with the glass in there. The marquee just held on with some screws. And this bracket here, which would come with any kit that you buy. So here's what the inside of my marquee looks like. And I got that cardboard that I ended up painting black. I bent it up and then screwed it into the side. I got some air holes up there so the TV can vent. Now I'm going to ship the machine with the glass inside here because I do not like the idea of it bouncing down the country with this thing hanging there. I think it's plenty sturdy, but I just don't trust it. So here's another thing that I like to do with all my machines. I have an on-off switch right here, and let's go film the other side of it. So the back panel just removes with a couple of screws, and then you have an on-off switch right here which controls everything because it is wired directly to this power supply right here. So that one switch will now control all this. So to put it together is actually just the opposite. What you'll want to do is put the plug in here, and then you'll plug in your cords, which again is the, put the volume control here, plug your audio into the Raspberry Pi, and the TV into the Raspberry Pi. One other thing you want to be mindful of is that the sticker, such a tight tolerance on this machine, it's going to rub against the side. So you'll want to put the first side in a little bit, like so. And then back it up to where it's about to touch the sticker. Go to the other side. And when you push the final, when you get right past the sticker and you push it in, you want to make sure that you push this in just to make sure the sticker doesn't bind up. And see, it goes in just fine then. It pushes up right against the seal. Now, you can leave it like this. It's plenty sturdy without any bolts put in, or you could put the bolts in. So this has about, let's see, 2, 4, 6 holes that attach it to the side here. And like I said, you don't need to put these screws in. It's plenty sturdy enough without it. But if you want to, it'd be even more so, and I'll show you how those get put in. Alright, here I am at the back of the machine, and I'm going to give you a tip on how to install those little fasteners. When I originally made the machine, I was worried that somebody would try to move it with the front attached to the back, so I really over-engineered to be able to support that kind of weight, and you can lock it down. It's hard for me to film this without getting in the way. What I have is a little screwdriver or an Allen key to help get the fastener to go in. So here's how the fastener sits. You can see it's sitting down a little bit. Sometimes the floor might not be straight, the carpet might not be straight, or it just needs a little bit of tweaking. So you get your screwdriver and you put it in the other hole. And I'm gonna try to go up. And this thing, it should go in by hand every time. And if it doesn't go in by hand, I don't recommend that you force it in, because you might churn the barrel inside and mess up the artwork. Now that's never happened to me, but it's possible that it could happen. So I push up on the screwdriver. You can see I'm doing it with one hand so that you can see it with the camera. And it just goes in by hand real nicely. And now the other fastener just goes in by hand. And actually that's good enough. You don't need to tighten them, but if you do, it takes a 7/16 wrench. It really doesn't need a whole lot of pressure. I guess I should add, you could buy the machine in its bare wood form, where you paint and install the art yourself. And that one will come with most of the brackets and hardware you'll need to install the marquee or to install the marquee light. Or you can buy it fully configured like the one you see here. So that's it for the video. I got into a lot of really fine details. I can't quite think of anything else to say. Thanks for watching until the end.